I'm Claire Novak here with Pete Denk, that handicapping show. Today we're going to talk about the Withers, and then we're going to make a brief mention of the Robert Lewis, which is all you can do because it's a very brief field. So let's go to the Withers first at Aqueduct, and of course this is one of those preps leading up to the preps. Who are some horses in here that we might be interested in? I was looking at Long River. Tell me your thoughts, and then I'll talk about his pedigree.
Long River's interesting. I'll start with Revolutionary in here, though, because he's likely to be favored. We haven't seen the morning lines yet, but Revolutionary is a Windstar Farm horse trained by Todd Pletcher, and he's run a couple really big figures, and that usually draws attention in these 3-year-old races. He broke his maiden by 8.5 lengths, very impressively, and is now stepping up to face winners. So, with 4 races under his belt, he's fairly well seasoned.
Sure.
I think he figures to get a pretty good trip in this field. When I was looking through it, the speed appears to be a New York bred by the name of Escape from Reality. He's by Read the Footnotes, and he's stretching out from sprints. And I think the race will set up really well for Revolutionary to show whatever he's got. He did regress a little bit off his big figure in the past, but he also had a slightly rough trip that day. He was 3rd behind Orb, and Orb has come back to win at Gulfstream.
Yeah, that was a nice horse.
Revolutionary is going to probably be the talking horse in here. Long River is a horse that I like a lot. He's getting first-time Lasix today, and that may or may not have account for the 4th place finish in the Jerome last time. He ran a pretty good race that day. It was his first race against winners, and he was ridden up into a pocket. He had to go backwards briefly and then try to re-rally, and he didn't have enough that day. In the 2nd, 3rd, and he is the 4th place finisher from that race return here.
Yeah, this is a horse trained by Kieran McLaughlin and bred by Darley, and he's the first foal out of Round Pond, who of course is a Grade 1 winner, champion mare in Kentucky in 2006, and Darley bought her for $5.7 million. Phased tipped in November in 2007. And he's one of those horses where you say, oh, his pedigree is so phenomenal, he's so very well bred, but the question of, sometimes with some of these mares, the first foal, maybe it takes a couple.
Yeah.
I've talked to some breeders lately who have said, success sometimes is, later on down the line. So he's one of those that you really like his pedigree, but he's going to have to step up and prove himself and just see if he can match up to mom and dad, and we'll see AP Indy.
And the thing I like about Long River is the rhythm with which he runs. He's never really trying to do too much. He's a really steady, tempered horse, and like from an energy distribution profile, he's just kind of galloping the whole race. I like him going longer. What the Jerome was 1 mile and 70 yards. This is 1 mile and 16th.
Yeah.
Not that much difference, but I do like him, and I'm probably going to pick him again. With the caveat knowing that if Revolutionary runs back to his big figure, he's going to win this race. But, I think I might consider making a win bet on Long River and maybe an exacta underneath Revolutionary. There's a couple other horses in here we should talk about that are coming out of the Jerome. Amerigo Vespucci and Siete de Oros.
Yeah, Siete de Oros is one who really impressed me when I was watching the Jerome. He got blinkers for the first time. He's 41-1. This is a colt who was purchased for $2,000 out of the Timonium sale, so he's not expected to be where he ended up at all, but he came up the rail. He closed really strongly. He had the lead and then kind of had to fight. And then Vijay just got the best of him in that stretch duel. But I really liked his tenacity. One of the reasons they said they had to geld him is because he was becoming so difficult. They thought he wouldn't even make it to the races if they hadn't. So that he's kind of got that fighting nature in him. And I would love to see him step up and compete well on the Triple Crown Trail. I'm always looking for those horses that kind of have the underdog story, because that's always fun to follow. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on him. And like I said, the way that he closed and his determination factor in that stretch duel was something that I liked. So I'm going to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, no shame in losing to Vijay either. Vijak's, I think his stock is rising. Not only is he a nice horse, but horses that have lost to him have come back and run well recently. Also, real quick on Amerigo Vespucci, he didn't have the greatest of trips in the Jerome. Of these 3, Siete de Oros, he did finish ahead of the other 2, but he also got by far the best trip. So I could not fault anyone for wanting to play any of these horses coming back from the Jerome.
And one of the things I was going to say is with these races, you've got horses that you're looking at their names and you're wondering if they should be on your Triple Crown list or not.
Right.
And we're so happy to weed them out. So look for the ones to finish last to be like, yeah, we're done with those. Moving on to the Bob Lewis, which is a very short field California race. Not such a good thing, but
how many Derby points is it worth?
Well, I think you get 10 if
10?
you win. And if you finish last, you're still going to pick up 1. So, just worth the same as the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So.
Really? Okay. Well, the horse in here that I think a lot of people will be very interested in is Flashback. He's a Tappet. He's a foal to Zazu, who is a really nice, I believe, Grade 1 winning filly.
Yep.
He looks like a pretty big horse. He looks like he's going to be able to stretch out. This is a really good test for him, I guess. Even though the field is short, we have a couple accomplished horses in here. Den's Legacy. He ran a good second behind Golden Sense in the Sham. And then He's Had Enough, obviously, was second in the very oddly run Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah.
He came back to really disappoint on the cushion track at Hollywood Park in the cash call.
Right.
But the Breeders' Cup was He's Had Enough's only dirt race. He had an interesting trip that day. I don't know what to make of the horse. I think this is a tough race to bet, but it's an interesting race to watch. What's Flashback going to do? Is He's Had Enough for real, or was that Breeders' Cup kind of a mirage?
Yeah, he's going to get blinkers added, so that's a thing to keep an eye on. And
that might help him too.
Yeah.
He's been a little bit quirky in his patterns of motion, a lot of moving his head and bearing out and weird stuff. So.
Yeah, and then with Flashback, he's had a really solid work pattern going into this race. So with the horse, it's funny because you've got him with 1 start and you've got Den's Legacy with 9.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of
and both trained by Baffert.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got half the field.
Well, he's got he has so many maidens right now that still are maiden winners that haven't run again yet. I mean, you don't know what is going to happen with him. So he's got a big hand of horses leading into this season.
As usual.
Yeah. All righty. Well, that's it from us. Thanks to Briss for the PPs, and we wish you good luck over the weekend.